Hello, hello, and welcome once again to another edition of Quoth the Raven, Lewis Brightraven. I'm your host, Lewis Brightraven, 33-year veteran of comic, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games. And I've got my co-host, Orange Chicken Chris Hall, and we've got our special guest tonight, co-creators of the series KAIJUS and Cowboys, Matthew Blair and Frankie B. Washington.
Hey everyone, what's going on? Hey,
Hello.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having us on.
Yes.
As I was telling Matt before the show, I had intended to have you guys on a long time ago, but I took a long break doing
Sure.
podcasting.
Yep.
And when I came back and I saw the new campaign, I was like, I remember these guys. I got to get them on.
Oh, I'm still pinching myself that we're still around. I mean, that's what it comes down to with the indie market, where it's like longevity. Like, how long can you stay on the playing field? And we've been on this knock on wood and stuff. We've been on doing this since 2020. Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah.
5-year anniversary.
This started as a pandemic project. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I honestly, I remember when Matt first brought it up, I was kind of like, it's like that. All right, maybe something can come from it or whatever. And I mean, it's just sort of blossomed. I mean, we have our agenda of trying to get to 12 issues. That's been our mandate, and now we're at the halfway mark with our first trade paperback too. So that's oh man, this is great times.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing.
My computer's being silly. It does this.
Oh, technology! Don't you love it?
No, I really don't.
Well, that's why we love, doing stories about robots and stuff like that. I mean, they're just these flawed imitations of humans.
Yeah, they're fun little. I'm a history nerd as well. First off, hi everyone. Wonderful to be here. But like the word robot, it comes from Czech. And it comes from there's a play. I don't remember what it was called, but the word robot it has its root in the Czech word robotaju, which means worker. And the play is about a group of machines who have replaced workers who rise up and overthrow humanity. And this play was written in the 1800s.
Yeah.
So it's like topical. Robots have been a reflection of humanity since their inception. It's cool to see.
Okay.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, and I'm getting the feedback too. Hold on. I'm gonna try my headphones again.
Actually, all of us are getting a little bit of feedback. I think it's everybody.
Really?
Yeah.
I
It's
think
just very, very low for me, but
Wow.
I do get it.
Yeah, no, I was hearing it. It was
there you go.
anymore. No, I am.
Technology, man.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to get some of our regular guests, our regular viewers, aware that we're on again.
I mean, on the plus side, Frankie's in Rhode Island. I'm in Oregon. I don't know where everyone else is, but that is really cool. Like, this would have been unheard of 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, go. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say I'm in Michigan, so
Yep.
Oh,
Technology
wow.
definitely has. There's definitely been the positive sides of it. I mean, and definitely bringing communication, being able. I mean, you're able to send artwork via like JPEGs or TIFFs and stuff. I mean, come on, that's amazing. Instead of the old days, I remember the old days of like FedEx. Trying to get down there 7 p.m. You gotta get that artwork out there and stuff like that, and then you pray, you hold your hands together, playing, oh my God, I hope it makes it.
Right.
to the point of that, the place where it's heading.
Or when I lived out in Nevada, and a Michigan publisher had to mail me a book, and the whole book had to be inked in 3 days.
Woohoo! Yay! Deadlines.
Oh yeah.
But that's where those I look at those times, man, when those deadlines are so heavy, man. It's like, and then you get through it. I mean, when you're in it, it just seems impossible. Like there's no end. But when you get done with whatever it is, it's like, oh, I remember pulling a 24-hour. And I was like, when I look back at it now, I go, nah, I never want to do that ever again. But I'm glad I did it. It was a learning. It was like an extreme. I mean, to the point where you're just. I remember hallucinating, like seeing the bed, and it's just like come to me, and then all of a sudden the phone rings, and there's like more changes, more edits, and we need it. There's always that dire, like we need this at such and such time. Like, oh God, and you start getting on. You just do it. You just get the job done. You know, so
and there always seems to be like harrowing stories from back in the day when we were young of these inspirational stories of artists, working 24 hours, 32 hours, 3 days straight to get the deadline done. But like you said, we look back at that going, I don't ever want to freaking do that again.
I would never want to. No. Hey, look, I climbed the mountain. I climbed the mountain back in my 30s and made it to the summit and everything. And I got the pictures of it, and I love it, but I'll be like, nope, I'll never. Not again. No.
When I started in this industry back in '92, I wrote, pencil and inked 4 books a month.
Wow.
Plus, I edited a whole bunch of other people's books.
Wow.
While
That's
going
incredible.
to college full time.
Yeah.
But you're 20 and you're 19, you're 20, you're 21, 22. It's like, I don't need sleep. I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Well, that's what you kind of had that expectation. I mean, that's how we grew up. We grew up with that sense that, you were going to, in your 20s, you're at that prime time, that prime age where you're going to do the sort of rough stuff. You didn't sleep. I mean, I think about it now, like for me, I'm hitting the sack around, I'll be honest with you, 7 p.m. 7 p.m. is like, and I like sleep. I like to get my full on, if I can't, 8 hours of sleep. But when I was younger, in my 20s, God, I don't remember even sleeping. It was like insane amounts of coffee, whatever that can keep you going. And I would stay up, chat with people, see the sun coming up, head off to what I got to do, and then wouldn't even think about it. But now, I value sleep. Sleep is like a valuable commodity.
Well, the funny thing is, I work a factory job and I work the night shift. So my shift starts at 5:30 p.m. and it goes to 5:30 a.m.
Oh yeah.
So I get to see the sun come up, but the good thing about it though is that it's 3 days one week, 4 days the next week. So. Yes. I have, I work the weekends, but the middle of the week is all mine. And like, it's a job that respects my time, but the time that it asks of me is quite a bit. So yeah, it's, I was never a morning person. I opened at a Dunkin' Donuts for 5 years.
Me.
And I was like,
that's me.
I never want to do that again.
I'm like, it's so ingrained. My mother came from the South. She came from Alabama, but I was born in the North. In Boston, and so my mother brought that sort of sense of, she was like, you get up. And I would get up like 5 o'clock in the morning, 5 a.m. She would get me up, and she was like, all right, you go to school, get ready and stuff like that, and my sister would still be asleep and all that, and that's kind of stayed with me. Like, I can't help but get up. Like, I get up early, even when I'm like dog tired. Something inside the internal clock would be like, get up. You gotta get up. I'll get up like 4 o'clock. Late for me would be like 6 a.m. would be 6 a.m. would be like late for me, and all of a sudden I feel like I've wasted time.
Yeah,
and it's part of me. Yeah, it's inside of me.
But you also go to bed 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Our punishments when we were kids are now our goals as adults. Like,
exactly.
I get to stay in home, go to bed early. It's like, yay!
Go to your room. Okay.
Matt, I don't know how you do shift work and make comics.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're still like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Well, I mean, I'm lucky. I'm not married. I don't have kids. It's just me at the moment. So,
But shift work by itself is grueling, man.
Yeah.
I mean, so the way I justify it to myself is like, before I moved out west, before I moved to Portland, I was living with my parents. I was working 5 different jobs.
Oh my God, whose cat is that? Is that you, Matt?
Nope,
Is
That's
that
my
Matt,
cat.
this is-
That's my
Oh,
cat.
we have a fur baby too. I'm like, oh my god, it sounds like Shadow. Wow. Oh, don't you love it when they make that noise?
that
Oh,
cat, his cat's in heat.
oh, yeah, she's
Oh,
not in heat. Man, she's just our cat is like, oh, she's either like
All
she
right.
knows she's
I'm
like
amazed that
Phoebe.
my cat isn't showing up.
Sorry to
Oh,
interrupt. Sorry to
yeah, I
interrupt
know.
you
I'm
there,
sorry
Matt.
about that, Matt. Yeah, sorry
it's
about
okay.
that.
It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about it. But yeah, I was living with my parents. I was working 5 different jobs.
Hmm.
I was waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I wasn't getting home until 7 o'clock at night. And I was doing this for 5, 6 days a week, and I
Yeah,
was absolutely miserable.
Yeah, I would
yeah,
think so.
yeah,
On the plus side, I was getting to a point where like working 12 hours is nothing to me, and especially when
yeah,
it's just a few days, it's like,
yeah,
yeah, this is good. I like, I didn't do a whole lot of good things in my 20s that really kept things going, but it got me used to working weird and insane hours, and like being able to deal with that. So my 20s were good for something.
yeah,
Well, yeah, and it's good that I feel like if you're going to work in comics, you have to have a good work ethic instilled in you
yeah,
somehow, some way.
yes,
Either how you did it, Frankie, or you did it, Matt, or
yeah,
I was in the army
yeah.
for
That'll do
a
it.
few years.
Oh, the
Yeah,
discipline.
and
Yeah,
so you have to have that good work ethic, or you're
yeah.
not going to make it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
a big chunk of my career was in art. I was working in advertising. So I was an
well, there
illustrator
you go.
working in
That's also
advertising.
another way.
Advertising was very like they didn't play around, which I love. I always tell people advertising to me were like the parents in the room. It was very cut and dry because they were dealing with these multi-million-dollar accounts. They don't hold anything back. They're like, if you don't do a good job, we just won't call you. They're just clear cut. And so you can't go in there with this kind of mentality of like, you're gonna be slacking off or whatever. You gotta pick it up. And they're like, boom, we call you if there's a gig, you either you say yes. You say yes or you just won't work. They may call you a few times, but eventually the calls will stop. And so I had already been doing I did some production work in a small film company. That was good. And then I did some animation stuff, worked for an animation studio. They were cool too. But once I got into advertising, that was like a whole nother level of like, this is the big time. You're in the big leagues now. This is the parents. these are hardcore adults. This is big time money. And if you do a job, most likely you don't want to say no to. Unless once you get into it. Once you get into advertising, you've worked, you've sort of earned you built your name and stuff, your reputation. Then you can be like, yeah, all right, I can't do this gig here and there. But you usually don't in your early stages. In your early stage, you're
Right.
like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. How high you want me to jump? Sure. And you jump on these gigs and you learn. It was like such a learning experience. I actually experienced working in a studio, which I don't think they have in ad agencies now. I don't think they even have like that sort of old studio stuff. I don't know if you guys ever watch Mad Men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That show Mad. Yeah, I love Mad Men. I'll tell anybody, Mad Men after watching it is probably close to what I experienced in the '90s. The last sort of that
Yeah,
old
the early
school
to
kind
mid
of
90s is
sense.
the last decade.
Yeah,
of that.
that's the last of like working in the studio element with super creative. When I say super creative people, and I'm saying writers like the copywriters and stuff, they blew my mind to the level of professionalism and how they understood deadlines and how they were like, boom, you gotta get this out, and they really would they would school you on stuff and help you on how getting stuff. I had no understanding of the power of advertising of excuse me, the power of marketing. I was just like anybody else. I would look at TV commercials, wouldn't think about how powerful it is to try to get your message out in such a short amount of time, to get it in front of people, to see something, to be like, I'm gonna buy that. How many people think about that? You don't. That's the whole point. You really don't. You can sit there all day in front of a TV set and you'd be like, God, I want a Dunkin'. And you'd be like, maybe I'm not even thinking about it, but you'll go.
I
get
don't
that
know why,
Dunkin'
but I'm
Donuts.
suddenly craving a delicious can of
Exactly.
Coca-Cola.
And
Yeah.
if you really sat back and you go, wow, why do I do that? Well, I sat in meetings where people, very smart people, are breaking down why you should buy this. I've worked on accounts, big time accounts. I've seen the ads that I've worked on. It was like, wow, I worked on that. But now it's like, now that, I look at it now, I when I watch a TV commercial, my brain is like breaking it apart.
Yeah,
Like I
your
can't
brain's
look at a
dissecting.
commercial now. Yeah, I can't look at it like the way I did before. I look at it now and go, yeah, I know the meaning. Like kudos for them
Yeah.
for getting that. Kudos for getting that concept to the client, and the client sold off on it and was able to
You've
say,
seen
okay,
the
we're
wizard
gonna lump
behind the
money.
curtain.
Exactly, exactly. But also what I was going on, I still love comics. Like when I went to art school, I went in with comic book pages, and they were like, "Oh wow, okay, you like comics." But my school wasn't focused on comics. They were hardcore. Like you're gonna earn money. You are a contractor. My school focused on that. Like I remember that the first time, like my one of my teachers who I work with in the industry, and I call him like one of my dads and stuff. He was also an ex-army guy. He was an ex-army guy, and he was like, his name was Charlie, and he just was like, Frank, he said, I like your stuff, but he said, I want you to understand. And the school was named Butera School of Art. They're closed now, but they were in Boston, and it was a small school, and they just was like, we want you to understand that you're a contractor. They were like, you're not just, if you're an artist, but you're a contractor. You're not here to
Right.
be putting pretty pictures on a wall and people are going to look at it and then maybe they'll spend some money for it. He's like, get that out of your mind. We don't believe in starving artists. We believe in
Right.
artists making careers for themselves so that if you have a family eventually or whatever, you have a career. And he said, if you can handle that, then we'll welcome you in here. And I said, yeah. And he said, come on in. And
Yep.
then that's how my teachers were. All my teachers worked in the industry. Some of my teachers did Parker Brother games, illustrations for a lot of toy companies. Some of them did illustrations for newspapers and stuff. They were like all heavy into the industry, and they always were talking about that. Like, you are a contractor. You're no different than a mechanic. You're no different than the plumber or anything like that. And it was
Right.
very fascinating to hear that because it set my mind in that kind of way of thinking so that I never got like into that sense of, where I would had other artist buddies who went to other schools and they kind of were like, yeah, I'm an artist and yeah, it's kind of cool and put my artwork on the wall and people in there, but they were like, trying to dig in their pockets and their pockets were empty. While I was like out there going, I'm getting paid.
Yeah.
You want me
Yeah.
to draw something, I have to make money. That just
Yeah.
was it. And so it was a different kind of way of looking at stuff.
Well,
You know?
part of it is a lot of traditional art schools, even going to college universities.
Yep.
Unless you take commercial art design or fashion design or something specific to that, you're not going to
Yep.
get the business side of the deal.
Yeah.
And when I went to Central Michigan University in the early 90s, I couldn't afford to go to Kubert. So what I did was I
Yeah.
called the Kubert School and I said, I want to build your program at my university.
Wow.
And
I
they
turned
worked with
down
me.
Kubert. I turned down Kubert. Kubert was one of the schools when I was leaving high school. I got a bunch of people because I had a scholarship, and they were like, "Well, where do you want to go?" And I was like, "Well, all right, I don't know." And so a bunch of schools contacted me, and I remember Kubert was one of them. And they were like, "Hey, come on down to New Jersey." And I lived in Massachusetts, and I just was like, "Yeah, I don't want to leave my family." I was like, "I don't want to go to Jersey. I want to I want to kind of stay with my
Yeah,
family."
but
So
yeah.
yeah. And I turned them down.
No.
I just was like, nah, I don't want to. And then I started looking at some other places, and then the Butera School popped up. And then I was like, sure, cool. You guys are, you talking about a career. So then I ended up going with them. And
Right.
for me personally, it was the best decision. It was one of the things where I look back and I go, I'm glad I went there because it made me into like that
Right,
kind
because
of
they were
sense of the
looking at it
hustler.
from a different right.
Yeah. But I
it's
love
like-
comics. I still
Oh
love
yeah,
comics.
no. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is,
Yeah.
when I went to school at Central, I had one of our head people was like anti-comics, like completely
Yep.
anti-comics.
I love those folks, don't we?
Yes, and he's like he's the art history professor, and of course he's got to show all the guys who do pop art that are swiping the comic book panels.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, if you're going to talk about that being fine art, then you have to
Yeah.
accept this.
Yes,
And,
exactly.
and what I'm trying to do,
Yeah.
And yes, this is a business, and I need to understand these aspects of it so that it becomes a job.
Exactly. There you go.
And if you want to help me do that, then fine. Once he got it through my thick skull that I wasn't just playing games,
Yeah.
that I was legitimately serious about making it a career. I actually, we formed a student group. We started publishing our own books right there on the
Nice.
campus.
Nice.
We had a co-op. We were producing 27 books between 37 members.
Awesome.
Wow.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
And now here's the thing: you go to the comic book industry and say, "Hey, we want to get in comic book stores. We can't carry you. You're black and white. Black and white don't shut in my store." Or this is wrong, or that's wrong.
And then the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles happened.
Oh no! This is after Turtles.
It's after, yeah.
This is 92.
Oh, yeah, okay.
This is 92, 93. This is like the Image blew up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You'd think everybody would be like, "Oh wow, you're gonna be like." Now we were selling books because all the kids in the colleges and the kids in the junior high and high schools were like, "These guys could be the next Image. We want to get in on the ground level," type thing. But the retailers are like, "Yeah, but you aren't going through Diamonds. You're not doing this. You're not doing that."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Look, we're giving you better discounts than Diamond's going to offer you. We're going to give you free returnability if you can't sell our books after so much, like 4 weeks. You haven't sold all your copies. We'll take them back, and sell them elsewhere."
Yeah.
They did not want to do business. So what would happen is, okay, here's the comic shop. You don't want to sell us? I go right next door in the music shop, explain how much of a hypocrite you are, and the music shop sells 100 copies of my book, and you were sitting there struggling to sell 20x.
The comic book industry, from what I've seen as an outsider looking in, and I've had some buddies that worked in it professionally, it's I feel like they always gotten into their own way of making something that can efficiently work. That's the thing. It's like, and then people look at manga, they go, well, manga's doing this and that. And I'm like, well, hold on a second. Manga never changed their formula. Manga has maintained their same formula of what they're doing for years. They never made any big radical changes like, oh, we're gonna do a speculative market. We're gonna do all this different stuff. We're gonna push away the core people of our audience who are buying our stuff, which are kids, and then leave a massive gap for the video game companies to sort of come in and fill that gap, and then another competitor, which would be manga, to sort of slip in there as well. So now you have kids in the West who are like, "Wow, I love." Trust me, I'm a person who grew up on anime and manga. So I'm talking back in the '80s. I was part of like a club that was in the anime and manga. So I'm not a person that's showing shade on it. But the thing is that the West, what the West did was they said, we're gonna try to do this. I don't even know if it was an experiment, just to be like, well, you know what? Instead of what's working, what we've been doing for this amount of time, we're gonna flip this, and try to do something that's crazy, like speculative market. We're only gonna focus on these few individuals who are these collectors, and then say, sorry for you others, the masses who are your kids, and if you can't afford our books, then hey, whatever, and then there you go. And I don't understand that way of thinking. I remember comic books being cheap. I remember comic books being something that was like escapism, entertainment. You could roll a comic book. I mean, my buddies would be in middle school. Our comic books, we weren't thinking about collecting. I'm sure there was some people who did collect, but we'd trade them back. They'd get all ruffled up and whatever, or we'd be able to buy extras. But that was the mentality. But you still got comic books. That's how you kept that fandom going. But somehow they said we're gonna change.
The reason manga and YA are successful in comparison to American comics is because they do not market to the direct market. They're marketing to schools, to libraries, to bookstore chains, all these other vendor markets. And I wrote all about that. In 97.
Yep. Wow.
And this is the actual business models.
Wow.
That Scholastic and Viz, and as you can see, this is the one that's especially for Del Rey books, for when they did the Del Rey manga line.
Wow.
A few years later. That's how they did this. And I offered it to all the major publishers in the comic book industry, and they laughed in my face.
Yeah.
So,
that's the thing. I don't understand why. To me, I felt like it's like you're literally pushing away a ton of money, because money could be made So what is your agenda behind it? That's
because
the real big mystery.
well, in
Self-service, self-interest.
with the speculator market in the '90s, it was like like before that you had kids spending dimes and quarters on comic books, and like it was doing okay, like it was making money, but then the '90s come in and it was making all the money. And like you had the speculator market, like the golden age comics that people were destroying and were passing around and were ruined, like they were going on sale for like millions of dollars. And so it's like hey, let's chase that. Like we can either make
But it
some
was
with
for
a lot
short
of people,
gain.
or we can make all of the
But it
money
was a
with
short gain. It
Short
wasn't
game
it wasn't like
right.
the big it wasn't for the long game bigger picture. It was just for short gains.
yeah, it was greed.
It was greed. There you go.
And,
It was
and
there was no long picture. There wasn't like the big picture. Like wow, how many
and
years?
people failed to realize why the old comics. That's a big problem. That's the biggest problem. That they failed to understand why the old comics were as valuable as they were.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's because
Yeah.
seduction of the innocents and
Yep.
the moms destroying, throwing out my comic
Yep.
books,
The
all that
limits.
stuff.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what
There were literal book burnings in America. Come on, guys, we don't do that here.
I
Do it
tell
now,
people.
unfortunately, but
I tell people all the time I collect and I love original artwork. That's my big thing, original artwork. And I go, as a collector, to own something that nobody else can have. That's the real golden ticket right there. To be like, I got an original Jack Kirby piece. That's that this is the art that goes to that book. That's why that thing it illuminates when you look at it. That's the value of what collecting is. Collecting to me is like when I see people who are getting multiple stuffs and like multiple variant covers and stuff like that. I'm like, where's the value in that? Because there's so many of them. It's like Stan Lee. They even said like Stan Lee's the value of his signatures and stuff. He's done so many signatures.
I have something to buy him.
Unless you're that one person, a few people that has Stanley draw a little image maybe with his signature. I like to be that person. Like if he said, you know what, I'm kind of bored, I'm gonna draw a little Spider-Man, a little like remark or something. Then that might be something that could be more rare than the other person that had it signed with just his name. But again, it's kind of like if you're putting all this stuff out, that and flooding the market with it, then the value of it starts dipping down. Where's the value?
Hi, Kitty.
yes,
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
That's what I got. I got the same thing. I love black cats.
Yeah.
And
I love them.
It's funny that there's people who still think that Image comic that has 200,000 copies out there is going to be
2
worth
million copies,
anything. Yeah.
If somebody drew on it, like if one of the image creators happened to be like, hey, I drew an actual artwork in it, then I'd be like, it'd be kind of cool. Todd McFarlane drew an actual like Spawn image in the Spawn comic.
I've got Dave Sim had
I'll
in
jump
the middle
on
of
that.
Spawn #9.
If Sam Keith, you had a Max book and he just was like, I'm a doodle on it and whatever. Yeah, dude, I'll take that. But
like
I mean.
Can you imagine having Dave Sim? He did the one issue of Spawn with Cerebus in it.
Yeah, and he just draws right in it.
Yeah, it's in the middle of the book where they have the big explosion.
Yeah,
I've got a big Cerebus head with him grimacing, saying "ouch." By Dave
that's
Simmons.
awesome. There you go.
Wow.
That to me, that's value.
And
But,
the reason
I
I
mean-
did that at the time was because there was this huge line for Dave to sign books. And
Yeah.
everybody was bringing that stupid thing and not his Cerebus book. I didn't know he was going to be at the show. Otherwise, I would have brought my phone books. So I'm like, well, I don't have that. So I went and got this number. But understand, I don't like McFarlane. I have no use for McFarlane's work.
Yeah.
So would you please just draw whatever you want on this? And he's like, really?
You
I have
you
no
lucked
I have
out.
no comment to say at this time.
Oh, about McFarlane? Oh man.
We
I gotta
are
admit,
young
I was a
creators
huge-
and do not
I-
wish
I-
to throw
I'll
shade.
admit, I was a huge fan of McFarlane, and I collected a lot of stuff. But I think I was a bigger
Well, I'm
fan
not
of
saying anybody's
McFarlane.
wrong to like him. I'm just saying for me,
Well,
he
well,
was
yeah.
working for
Well, I mean, for me, I think the thing about him was it wasn't because of his artistic abilities. It was more in the sense of what he was doing. Like I love the fact of how he was like, look, he went to Marvel. He asked him about certain things, and he said, "Look, I'm out." And then he left, and he said, "I'm never coming back." And I was like, when I saw that, I was like, I respect that. He was like, "I'm never gonna go back there, whatever." And then he started his company. He started to Spawn. He focused on Spawn. I love that. And then he started Todd Toys, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So he really focused on his own IP and did his thing. And then you find out all the other nonsense that went on and whatever. And you go, ah. But overall, I respected that because, again, I respect anyone who says, look, I'm going to stand by what I'm doing. I'm going to go out and do my thing, and they just do it. That right there I do respect. But then all the other nonsense that he did with all that, then that was just foolishness to me.
I mean, all those Image guys, like, they'd grown up marinating in the stories of, like, Kirby and
of course.
Lee getting absolutely screwed over, and it's like, you know, we're not doing that. And like, you know, they also grew up with the like Moore and Neil Adams like talking about like, you know, no, the creators deserve credit, they deserve their originals. I think I remember, like, I was taking a class on comic book history, and I think there was a story in like the early days of Marvel in like the 60s. And like the offices had like a leak. There was like water dripping on the floor, and one of the editors takes an original comic book page and puts it underneath the leak to soak up the water.
Oh yeah,
it's
Right.
Yeah, the value of art was like nothing.
And that's why all these pages are so valuable now, because they were throwing them away.
That's like advertising the story. I can't think of the woman's name, but I think the place is over in Newport, Rhode Island and stuff. But I went there, the Illustrator Museum or something like that, where literally this woman would go around the agencies back in the old days and stuff, Norman Rockwell time. And back then, advertising agencies would just throw these paintings away. I'm saying Norman Rockwell and all these great illustrators, they would just toss it because they were like, well, we're done. We're done using it. So they would just toss it. This woman would go around and pick these paintings out of the dumpsters and just kept them. And then she started I can't think of her name. Her name is escaping me. But these beautiful pieces of work, because they were like, well, it's just done. The work's done. I'm like, God, if I had a time machine, I'd be right there in that dumpster too, jumping.
To have an original Norman Rockwell? Oh my God.
Yeah, but that's, when he was doing this stuff, I forgot some of the magazines and stuff that he was doing, but God, these are beautiful paintings. But that's how corporate is. They're just like, well, the work's already been done, it's already been used, so we don't have no use for it, and they would just hand it out. And Marvel had the same thing. I mean, did you ever see the story about what's his face? Steve was it Ditko? Where the guy went to interview Ditko and he saw that Ditko was using some of the Spider-Man pages or whatever as a cutting board. And the guy was freaking out. He's like, because Ditko didn't really at that point, he just wasn't really giving a lot of interviews or anything. And this guy
doing much of anything.
Yeah, he wasn't doing anything. And this guy had a chance. He got to finally get to interview him, and he said when he got to go up to the apartment, I guess Ditko had like a ton of like Spider-Man pages out and whatever, and he was just like, some of them were just cut up and slashed, and this guy's like freaking out. These are original pieces. This is like history, and and Ditko didn't care. He just was like, whatever. And I'm like, dude, I probably would have begged him, please. If you don't hate him that much, please, give him to me.
Right?
I'll be like, I hate him with you. I'll be like, yeah, I'm with you, man. I hate him so much. Just give them to me. I promise to hate them outside.
All right.
Oh, here we go. This is
it. Speaking of which,
let's get.
Oh boy, this thing, Kaijus and Cowboys. Oh, the name alone.
Yes.
Listen, I have been to I'm starting to go to conventions now, and pound the pavement, as it were. And like I have a rare and important skill where I can go to a convention and actually turn a profit. But I have sold at least 10 books just on the name alone.
We thought about that name too. How did we? I feel like, how did we come to that, Matt? It was like we just tossed names. Do you remember?
What I do remember is like we settled on the name, and then we put it out there, and then people started coming back and saying, no, Kaijus isn't plural like that. But that
was after the fact. No, that was after, because I remember it was some person from the comic book industry. I think you went to a show, and this is after the fact though. We had already come up with Kaijus and Cowboys,
We,
and
yeah,
then
we
that
had already
person,
published
yeah,
it. It was already out there, and they were
and
like,
that
"Oh,
person
this
came
is
back.
so much."
Yeah, that person said, yeah, it's actually the right term, which is correct. It is kaiju, because kaiju is the plural, and then
Yeah,
cowboys. But we were like, well,
we'll
this is
just
the
keep it.
my argument. My point on it was that I'm a huge fan of underground comics and outlaw comics and indie comics, and I said, well, if you think about it, indie comics is a rebellion. It's almost like a rebellion to what's going on in the mainstream. So the thing is that I remember seeing comics where people would spell comics with a Z. Is that wrong? Or comics with an
Well, yeah,
X
no, there's the
or
comic
whatever.
scene, which is
Yeah.
COMIX. That's like the
So
crumbs
you
and
could do you
the world.
technically could do anything you want because you're a rebel. I'm from the old school of I remember seeing graffiti on the walls. I love that stuff when you would see graffiti out there. You didn't know who it was. Somebody putting out this beautiful artwork that was so different, so unique. And I think that's the whole basis of what indie comics, underground comics, and outlaw comics were. They were just these comic books that were just so out there that they were totally saying, "No, look, we are rebels. We are
Yeah.
rebels out here. We're not gonna follow what's laying out. We'll follow the rules of making a comic book. Of course, there are rules, but the thing is that we're gonna do what we feel is the right thing for what we're putting out. That's why we had the Ninja Turtles. That's why we got what is it, ElfQuest. That is how we got all Cerebus. We got it because of these fantastic rebels out there that dare to challenge, and many more. Excuse me. There's many Faust. There's many more out there who dared to put out something that was going to be different. And no matter how it was spelled or whatever, people understood it. And I was like, Kaijus and Cowboys it flows well.
Right,
Yeah.
It
right.
just flows off your mouth, your mouth pretty
Well,
good.
like going on to Frankie's point, like in terms of like just like the quality of like art and culture in general, like you have like the established stuff, you have the stuff that sells, you have the stuff that everyone knows,
Hmm.
but you need
Yes,
independence scene. You need a place where people can
yes,
say, let's try something else, let's do something
yes.
different, let's like experiment, let's play around with it.
Oh
And
God,
like
yes,
we need you need a healthy indie scene
yes,
if you want the larger scene to survive. And like
yes.
going back to what we were talking about with manga, like one of the things I like and respect about manga is they have that, like Weekly Shonen Jump is a thing. It's an institution that's respected, and
Hmm.
like Naruto and Bleach and like
Yep,
Dragon Ball, they all got their start there.
yep.
And like like a place where people can say, here's something new, and people can be like, okay, this is good, we like this, let's do more.
Yes,
I have some problems with the working conditions of manga, but that's a
of
different
course.
conversation entirely.
Yeah, of course, of
Right?
course.
Yeah. And
Okay. Well,
American comic artists can complain about working conditions, but they are
Oof.
nothing like the
Woo.
No.
conditions over in
Yes,
Japan.
yes. Oh yeah, agreed. It's yeah, because I see a lot of people who get on there and they're always saying like how supposedly because they see these beautiful renderings, which they are, buildings sometimes really detailed and everything like that. But it's like how many people worked on that?
Hmm.
How
five
many
or
people?
six.
We don't know.
Five or
How
six
many
usually.
people worked on there, and you're talking about all these different things, but it's rough over there to get
Mhm.
into that show and jump. What does it take to get into that? Let's talk about that aspect.
Yeah.
Let's see how
Yeah.
easy that is to do that. So I mean, again, I'm a huge fan of Western stuff. I grew up on Western comics. Although I love European, I love them all. But my thing is, I grew up on the classics. Like I'm very fortunate that I had a chance to talk and meet Herb Trimpe, who was one of my heroes. Herb Trimpe is his comic books. Well, he did the Hulk, but his illustrations for the Shogun Warriors and Godzilla, those were influential to me as a
Yes,
child.
I can see that in your work here.
I
Hmm.
grew up with those. When I remember seeing the Shogun Warriors, I was like, oh, I was blown away because it was something that I truly loved, and I saw it in an American comic book. I was like, Marvel's doing giant robots, and then finally with Godzilla, I was like, Godzilla is being done, and you had Doug Moonich. I always feel like I'm saying his last name wrong, but Doug and Herb working on that, and these guys are actually doing these stories, and they're done by Marvel Comics. It blew my mind as a kid because that's the stuff that I wanted to do. I love superheroes, but I love the idea of the fantastic sense of human beings being inside giant robots and fighting giant kaiju-like creatures. I love that stuff because it's just crazy. It's
Well,
so out there.
it's that I call it the money shot, because like I mean you see it in all the kaiju stories where like it's like the final victory pose that Godzilla has, and they always let out a giant roar, and it's like, there you go, that's the good stuff. Like,
Well, the appeal of Japan to me was always that sense of how outlandish their characters could be. I mean, they didn't care. I mean, you look at Power Rangers. People look at the Toku stuff from Power Rangers and other stuff, and it's just these crazy characters. They would make a character, a kaiju, out of a phone. A telephone booth could be a kaiju. It's a giant kaiju fighting these guys in a robot, and they just didn't care. And I love that because there were certain rules sometimes with American comics and how certain things looked and something like that. Some people would push the envelope, but really in Japan, they really pushed how characters were, and stuff like that. And I was always fascinated by that because I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. You can have a character that could look kind of really weird and whatever and such and such. But then you get these deep sort of stories in these are fantastic plots and fantastic stories, and so that this is a dream to be working on this kind of stuff.
And that's what led you guys to this project. Okay, so let's go ahead and get on to this.
All right.
yes.
All right, here we go.
Okay. Yes. Video. I spent a lot of time on this. Now, like I made the video. I'm rather proud of this one. So
this thing launched yesterday or 2 days ago. You've got halfway through your goal already, over halfway to your goal.
Yes.
You got 30 backers so far. Let's watch the video. Okay.
Wow.
Very, very powerful. Yeah,
Well
it's
done.
very, very, very powerful.
Thank you.
It's simple in its how it's put out there, but it's very powerful.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you. I
thank you
spent
very much.
about 2 or 3 days doing it because I'm working on I'm working on my rinky little laptop with CapCut, and like, I don't come from a very visual background. Like I actually originally went to college to study music. I was gonna be an opera star. So like take all that conversation about being a professional and doing that, but apply it to music. Like I'm relatively new to comics, so like when it comes to like pacing, storytelling, and like sound, that's something that's sort of my wheelhouse. But like art and color, like I enjoy it, I like it, but like Frankie's the expert. So
jeez.
that's what that's where I come from on this.
How much of this is digital and how much of this is traditional, Frankie?
Traditional is the line work, the actual illustrated work, and then the rest is all digital. Those are all digital colors. The background itself is actually digital as well.
Okay.
And again, I mean, I think the thing about it is that that part of my mind when I worked in advertising taught me about the fact of making sure to be what's the word I'm looking for? Efficient. You want to be efficient in your time to make sure that you can crush those deadlines. And so the thing is that in doing those kind of deadlines, I mean, I can clearly paint or I can do marker work and stuff like that, but it can be time consuming.
Yes.
It's like you're trying to find ways to try to make sure that you can still get that same impact, but try to make sure that you stay in the lines of what your deadline is going to be. Because I think a lot of people who are doing comic books today, they have to understand that y-
You're
this is a
not growing
business. This is a
roses.
business. This is a business, and so the thing is that you need the product to get out, and the product has to be
Yeah.
able to get out at an expedient time, because then
Mhm.
you can be able to make a profit, and then that profit can either go back into more creation, and it keeps the circle of life going. And so the
Right.
thing
Well,
is that yep,
speaking of markers, stick around until issue 8 because
yes,
Frankie's got some marker work there, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but
yes,
we have artwork completed up to issue 8, and
yep.
like I get to see all of this before everyone, and
Oh
like
yeah,
it is
yeah. I definitely, that was something where I
it's
said, I'm
it's
gonna
so
try it.
good.
I said because I love doing marker paintings and stuff like that, and I decided it fit the story. It fit what Matthew had written perfectly, and I said, you know what, I've always considered myself. I used to use it too. I can't believe it. An eclectic artist. That means that I tend to get bored. So when I was in school, I would always play with different things. I would do watercolor. I even tried oils. I didn't like oils. I tried acrylic. Yeah, I was so half and half on it, but I always loved watercoloring. I loved ink work, and I'd always sort of mix between different things. And so with issue 8 coming on, I decided to go back to some stuff to try it, just to try it, and it came
Yeah,
out pretty good. But I love doing the digital because the digital allows us to be able to do edits. In my mind, my that in mind when I was working in advertising, I'm like, we may have to make a fast edit. So I was like, I don't want us to be spending time trying to do, eat up time and deadline and whatever, because it's like, oh boy, if I'm hand drawing this and this has to get re-edited, then it turns into a nightmare. But all the images are hand drawn. I'm a huge fan of having completed illustrated pages. As a collector of original artwork, I love worked on artwork. I love seeing little, coffee stains on this stuff. I even have a little couple of ink spills on my own personal pages, and I tend to draw little doodles on them and stuff. So I'm a huge fan of that. But yes, everything that's all digital coloring.
Okay. Your first level is other than the $1 for just give us a buck. We'll appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is on Kickstarter, and I know I've seen this book on Indie Planet before, the series on Indie Planet. I'm pretty
Yep.
sure, and stuff as well. So, anyway, your digital format is $5.
Yep.
for
$5
issues.
digital, $10 physical. That's our motto. Because like I get that the crowdfunding world can be frustrating at times. Like being an artist as a creator, like putting out there, and it's like you put so much time and effort into this, and you do need to make money. But I have seen Kickstarters where it's like a PDF of a 36-page book is on sale for $25, and I'm like, no, absolutely
Yeah.
not. I don't want to do that. So like, we created this reward structure with two things in mind. We want people to read it, we want it to be affordable, and we want it to be easy on fulfillment as well. So like what I do, what I've done, and I've done 11 of these things, and so Frankie does the artwork, I do the fulfillment, and it's like, how can I make things efficient and streamlined to the point where I get this out as fast as possible.
There you go.
Because that's the other thing about
Yeah.
crowdfunding. It's like, you back something and it looks cool. I backed things back in 2024, and I'm still waiting for it. And it's like
Join the club. I'm
that doesn't
way
work for
past
me.
that. I'm a couple of years where I still haven't gotten stuff. I know I'm
Yeah.
most likely never gonna get it, and I know that a lot of people are angry. Oh, we got a new one in here too.
Yes.
We know that there are a lot of people out there that are frustrated with that kind of stuff. So we're in this market where if fulfillments aren't being done at an expedient time, a realistic expedient time, then that kind of trickles on all of us. We all get that kind of glare on us. Like there's that spotlight going, I don't know, you guys, are you like the other guys who are taking like whatever amount of time to not get their stuff out? And we're like, no. We have to prove to them that we can get this stuff out to them.
That's why I always tell people to have your books done before you ever even go to the Kickstarter.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
We believe that too. Like, like I said, we're we have artwork up to issue 8 for Kaijus and Cowboys, and we have this book right here. So a little bit of background. This book is Guardians of the Last Dragon. This is our foray into publishing other people's stuff. I have a friend of mine. His name's Zachary Schimmel. And he has dreams and aspirations of being a comic book creator as well. And I was like, cool. You got anything? And he came up with this idea. And the artist is a guy named Ben Basil. Zach is the guy who came up with it. I came up with the idea. He wrote the script. I helped edit it a little bit. And Ben does the artwork. The way I like to describe this, it's basically, the movie Underworld with Kate Beckinsale and Kevin Grivo. I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, but it's like that. But instead of gothic horror, werewolves versus vampires, it's cyberpunk sci-fi, and it's knights versus dragons.
Okay.
So yeah, it's the beautiful thing about comics is that you can have the stupidest idea, and you can make it work. So, and it's a stupid idea, but you can tell the most amazing stories. You can do amazing artwork, and you can experiment and do all sorts of weird, crazy things with it. And that's what drew me to comics. It's the ability to be creative and not really have anyone tell you oh, do it this way or do that. So that's what I. So yeah, you got. 2 different books, 2 different styles, 2 different, ways of viewing, ways of approaching it. But there are similar themes. We did put this here for a reason because, Kaijus and Cowboys, you've got, monsters versus humans. Guardians of the Last Dragon, you have monsters versus humans.
Kaijus, monsters versus robots.
Well, so the robots are sort of an extension of the humans who are not there, but they're present. They're literally floating above it all. They're all in cryo sleep above, in orbit above the planet. But the robots are, doing all the work. Take that as you will.
Books for $7 each, basically, plus shipping.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the next level is Kaiju Rodeo.
Yes.
Whoops. There we go. Kaiju Rodeo. And this.
So the Kaiju Rodeo. This is what I was talking about with standardized rewards. What I do is I assign, a item or a certain bundle of items a certain value. So $5 digital comic, a $10 physical comic, and then you have the add-on stuff. You package it together for $15. So the Kaiju Rodeo, that's where this comes from. So you get a special variant cover, which is only going to be available at the Kickstarter. You will not find.
Yeah, we only do one. Yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah, I try to let people know that we don't do a ton of variants. So the thing is that we only do them for these Kickstarter campaigns, and that's it.
You will not see this at conventions. You will not see this on our web store that will eventually be up. You will not see this on Indie Planet. It's just here. It. Because we understand that if you want something to be valuable, you have to have fewer of it and not have 200 various covers with hollow foils and gold stamping and whatever the crap they do. So, looping way back to our conversation there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, that's fine. I mean, really the only thing that's really exclusive are the blanks, because then you just draw one of one.
Yeah.
Well, and people love that. I've done a lot of commissions with the blank covers, the sketch covers, and the sketch cards. So those have been really fun. I have fun with those.
But it's interesting though. I mean, so many people come up with so many weird things to try and make it. Mm-hmm. People buy stuff. They'll make toys. They'll make shot glasses. They'll make book ties that have everything you can think of.
Well, it's trying to get back to what is the basis of your campaign. It should be about the book. Right. That's the key thing. That's all that matters. You know, me and Matthew have had that conversation. Like, what is the most important thing? The most important thing is we want people to read the story of Kaijus and Cowboys. Period. So it's really working from that standpoint. All this extra stuff, the little stuff that we're offering and stuff like that, they're just to be like a thank you. But we don't want to put it to the point where it's like, okay, we're just handing you a bunch of different stuff, as if we're covering up for the lack of what our story is.
We're not going to see Kaijus and Cowboys toilet paper.
No.
I mean,
not yet. It has to be down the line. It has to be a big. You're talking about IP, but no, not in the Kickstarter. Come on.
no.
No. Wipe your butt with the face of Bwin.
I mean, like Frankie said, our main goal is the books. Like, if you get anything out of this campaign, the book is first. Yeah. The stickers, the patches, and all of that, it's a bonus. It's nice. It's a way to tack on a little extra value and to make us not feel like I said, I don't want to charge $25 for a 22-page comic book.
Right.
I treat it as a thank you. I thank you for the people who've taken the time to come to our actual site here, the Kickstarter campaign. Yeah. And to support us. Mm-hmm. It's a thank you, just to be like, well, it's just like if we had like a mom and pop store. You come into the store, there could be like freebies, like, hey, here's some free little donuts or whatever. Special, that's what they do. People offer you something, then you go, wow, that's really good. All right, I'm gonna tell my friends about it, and then hopefully that can sort of start a sort of chain reaction.
It's there if you want it, but we're not going to be mad if you don't take it. The other thing we do is we're really big fans of doing bundles of books as well, and I think that's another thing I've seen with like a lot of other campaigns. There's a creator named Kat Camellia. I'm probably not pronouncing her name, but she does like digital bundles as well. Like she puts out calls to like people saying hey, if you have a book, submit it, and we'll put it there and help promote it on our campaign as well.
Right.
Which is really cool. Like I really appreciate that. I think Kaijus, the first issue of Kaijus and Cowboys made it into one of those bundles as well. So there's that. But what we do, so this is what I call the Cambrian bundle. So this interview is here to talk about Kaijus and Cowboys, but we do have other books as well. Like, we do have Guardians of the Last Dragon, which we're starting, but we also have this book called Romanus Magicae as well. The way I pitch it to people, I like to describe it as like Hellboy with a little bit of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but instead of the modern era, it's set in ancient Rome. Because Frankie is the kaiju expert. Like, I wrote this book to let Frankie do what he does best. Romanus Magicae is the book I've always wanted to write. Yeah. And so everything I know, because I was a history nerd growing up. Some kids watch Sesame Street. I was, reading about Hercules and Jason and the
Same here, man.
That's what I grew up on. Yeah. And so Romanus Magicae is what I wanted to do. And I did it. And the artwork's by a guy named Paul Pert Smith. We have colors by Ava de la Cruz and lettering by Micah Myers. And we also you can kind of see it in the picture. There's the 0 issue, the number 1 and number 2. We have Kickstarter exclusive covers for this by Charlie Adler, Sean Phillips, and Charlie Gillespie.
And it's a beautiful book. I'm gonna just say that I have my copies, that and I love it. I think it's a great series, and kudos, man. It looks really. What I love is that we're offering. Cambrian is offering these kind of different books. They all look different. Like if you put them side by side, they're just different. They're not just homogenized one kind of thing. We're offering, a certain style. Like my style, some people have said it's retro. It reminds them of like the 80s animated shows or like the old school stuff, which I love. I wear that with a badge of honor because that's what I'm from that time and era. I love that stuff. And then the Roman book, it has a different feel to it, a different kind of stuff to that offers for people who might be interested in that. And then hopefully people can check out this new Dragon book and see if it offers that kind of. When Matt showed that to me, it felt like that sense of manga, like we're actually getting into that realm of manga, but Western style, like someone who is from the West doing a sort of manga kind of book. So I love the sense that it's a bunch of 3 different books. The books don't fall on each other. They're kind of all in their separate little, thing, and it looks great.
Yeah, you got to experiment. You got to try new stuff. You got to be different and not just do what sells. Like do what sells, sure, but like push the envelope a little bit because you don't know what else might sell.
Sure.
So, but yeah, that's the Cambrian bundle. You get a lot of stuff there. We also have add-ons as well. You have a choice. We have sticker bundles, sticker app, which is the site I use.
I almost forgot. Did we mention that we're offering our first trade paperback?
Yes.
On this campaign, that's a very important thing. We finally made it to a trade paperback level.
Yes.
Because trust me, I've had DMs, I've had people contact me, asking me about trade paperback over and over and over again, and it's tough because you got to make a trade paperback or anything like that. You got to have books. You got to have story. You got to have the stuff and whatever and content. Thank you. And so the thing is that we finally reached that level now, where we have the collected issues of 1 through 6, and that's going to be the trade paperback.
Right. They were going to appear on the campaign page when it launched, but the printer was delayed a little bit for reasons. But Frankie, quick news! I just got news that the books have been shipped. So,
woo! Yay!
I
can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah. So no, we because there are people that will read comics just from the trades, and that's good. I respect that. Like I will not I won't make fun of anyone for reading comics on their phone. I won't make fun of anyone for reading you're just collecting trade paperbacks. It's like as long as you have a book in front of you that you're reading and you're enjoying, you're good.
Well, see, I'm not a floppy guy. I am a trade paperback graphic novel guy. Just for space reasons, huh?
Yeah.
And a digital guy.
Yeah. Like one of my favorite things to do when I'm on break from work, I have a Global Comics on my phone, and I'll just
we're on Global Comics. We're on Global Comics as well.
We're on Global Comics too. So if you want to check that out, we're everywhere, or we're trying to be everywhere. So we've got
where the first issue is available for free.
Yes.
Well. So we did. It's our 0 issue.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you want.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to do something here.
Right.
There we go.
It's okay.
Right.
Oh.
But yeah, like I said at the beginning, Kaijus and Cowboys started as a pandemic project. Like we were, looking for something to do while we were locked up, and we're like, hey, let's do this. And so like when we did that, we really didn't expect it to go this long. And like we did think it was going to be like a one and done thing. But then we were contacted by a publisher who I'm not going to talk about because it didn't end well. All due respect to they decided their journey was going to take them elsewhere.
Yeah.
But
that happens.
It happens, man.
Happens. Yeah.
Does, so.
Here's the Kickstarter link to the campaign right there. It's also listed in our description of this video.
Yes.
Link to it.
Yes. But yeah, no, we had an initial contract to publish 12 issues. It fell through, and we were like, let's just do it on our own.
Yeah.
This is a story that is
Yeah.
worth telling. This is a story that we think people will enjoy, and so here we go.
I'm from the mindset of Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. That's what I grew up with, and so and Wendy and what's his name, the Pennies. I'm from that frame of mind of thinking. I'm like, just do it. Like I still have like some of the zines from the '90s. I was looking through a box and I was like, wow, I still got. I'm just in that whole mindset of artists and their rebellious nature of just doing stuff. There comes a point where you got to stop talking and you just got to get down there and get to doing something.
You just say screw it,
and don't sit there. I try to tell artists that contact me. I say, look, if you start overthinking it, you're sitting there. Well, what should I do? I'm going to be working on this. I'm like, Dan, that's not what it's about with comic books. Comic books is about journey. Do you think John Byrne's artwork? If you look at John Byrne's original artwork, it doesn't look like what he the stuff that you saw later in Fantastic Four or X-Men. Look at the early stuff of Frank Miller. Frank Miller's stuff, the evolution of you want to be able to be an artist, a visually, even a writer. You want to
or
be
the de-evolution of Frank Miller.
Yeah, you want to be able to look at somebody and see their growth. You don't want to be already at this point, and then you have nothing else to say. You go, well, all right, I reached the point. Then people look at you and go, okay, what else can you show us? You can't show us anything else because you've already reached your max. And the thing is that you want to be able to look at your work, your body of work, and go, well, I started from A, and here I am at whatever that point where you're going to be at. And so I'm all for the journey, man. I can look at Kaijus and Cowboys from the very first book to now to issue 8, and I can tell you, I can see the evolution of it. And then same thing with how Matt's writing of it and stuff. That's what people pay into. When people go to a gallery, what do you think when they're talking to the artist? Please tell me about this piece. They want to hear the story. Then they want to buy into that story. That is why people will dig in their pockets to spend the money. The same thing like comic books. When we sit here and talk about comic books, we talk about that journey. We go, wow, man, we saw the comic book, and this is where the character came from here, and then they start going to this point. You don't want to be already at the end point, and then you go, well, all right, well, you already shown me. I mean, what else can you show me?
You're buying the story of the book, but you're also buying the story of the creation as well.
Exactly.
And you're buying the effort that gets put into it.
Yeah, I try to tell these artists, don't try to search for perfection. Does not exist. It doesn't. The thing is that you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna draw maybe whatever's off a little bit. So who cares? One of the best comic books I've seen are my old school comic books. Have you noticed how the color spilled off some of those lines? You see color spills. You see like arms didn't look so right and things like that. So what? Who cares, man? You read that story, and then you moved on to the next story, and then you moved to.
Well, I mean, you also see like you also see like the Ben-Day dots, and like you see like the offset printing with like the 4 colors, and it's like it was a printing mistake, but like it looks pretty, and now like you have like Into the Spider-Verse like aping it as an art style.
Oh my God, the Shogun Warriors! I was looking at the Shogun Warriors a while ago, and it's like I loved it how her trippy. There would be shots where what you see the robots, and one scene they'll be like standing on an entire city. Like perspective wise, and the next thing you know, now they're smaller than a building. He would do that stuff, but we didn't care. We just didn't care because it was just like you're escapism. It's escapism entertainment. You didn't question everything. I didn't question when I watched the $6 Million Man. I just thought it was cool. I didn't question everything about whether or not he's lifting this thing and was his spine fortified to be able to lift the max of weight. It's weird to hear people when they're breaking down stuff and it's like, oh my God, are you serious? Are you really serious? I grew up where we saw stuff and we accepted the Hulk and rip things apart.
Hey! We got another one.
Oh, did we? Oh, it went up. Whoa!
Nice.
This is actually by every conceivable metric, this is actually the best start to a campaign we've ever had.
Oh yeah, this is great.
So this is good.
I have a question for you guys. I have a couple questions. First one is, So you typically do, it seems to be about $3,000 or so around there for a Kickstarter.
Pretty
Is that
much.
correct?
I think we factored around there.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
sounds about right. We had a slight hiccup with our last campaign, which it's okay to talk about because, like, share the
Sure.
journey, so
Sure.
other people don't copy our mistakes. The last campaign was a little bit under $3,000, but that was like there was some personal stuff going on.
Yeah.
But like but yeah, about $3,000 is usually what we've targeted. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less.
One of our
So I'm
earliest conversations, one of the early conversations that I had with Matthew is I said, we have to be realistic. You're
Mhm.
not going to make a lot of money in comics. That's it.
Well, when you
And I'll be
start, yeah,
straight up.
you're not going to make a
You're
lot
not.
of money when you first
You're
start
just
out.
not. And if you're walking into this idea with Kickstarter that somehow you're going to make this insane amount of wealth, then you're in the wrong kind of thing. I think for
Yeah,
me, when I look at the whole stuff, I don't look at how much something is. I look at the fact that we're getting books into people's hands.
yeah,
Because you're not factoring in the other side, like Matthew's starting to go to cons and stuff like that, and selling stuff on the side, and the other different books that are going with that. So you're not factoring all that other stuff in there. So the thing is that to put the weight on, like, okay, well, you got to make this X amount of money or whatever. Well, okay, but is that going to continue? Are people going to be thinking about that story? And next time you do a Kickstarter, are they invested into that? I think for me, I'm looking for the investment of people being into the story more so
yeah.
than what
Kickstarter
the
is
money's going to be.
it's a tool. It's not a
Yeah, I look at it as a delivery
not a way
tool,
of
if
life.
anything.
And I
Yeah,
will say, I made that mistake when I was originally starting out, like way back in like 2012. I tried running a
yeah,
Kickstarter and I asked for
yeah,
way too much money and I had no
yeah.
marketing
Yeah,
whatsoever.
you think
So
you get the only people that can make money, let's be honest, the people that are already highly established, if you already have a fan base, a strong, viable fan base that is with you for the reason. You could be a combo creator, a big time combo creator, or just somebody who's whatever, YouTube or whatever. If you
yeah.
have a strong fan base or whatever, sure, you're gonna do very well. I mean, or if you have an IP, or if you have an IP that is big. Like if we came in and said, yeah, we got Transformers. Oh, if we didn't make like six figure, then that's insane. Like
Yeah.
Godzilla, yeah, but there's a lot of factors that play in there. You know, another thing too is that we're not doing the stuff that we're doing is kind of niche. It's
Yeah.
about robots and
Yeah.
it's about kaiju.
but
It's a very niche kind of
logistically,
market.
Let Chris ask his
Yeah,
question.
sorry.
Sure.
Sorry, Chris.
logistically, I really want to know and explain to our viewers, how do you logistically make print, get books in hands, a comic book for $3,000? That
There
kind
you
of
go.
blows my mind.
There you go, Matthew.
Well, so there's the making of the comic and then there's the shipping of the comic. Like when we have a Kickstarter running, the artwork is already done. So like that journey's already been completed, and like
Yeah.
Frankie has done the art, and I have paid Frankie for his art. I want to make this clear. Don't try to
Yeah.
go online and say I will give you money when this starts
Yeah.
making money. It's like
Yeah.
don't do that.
Don't do that.
That's terrible.
The back end
Um,
deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
The back end deal means bend over.
Yep.
You know what that says? Let's be honest. It says that you're not serious. Because
Yeah.
anytime I hear somebody says that, because look at I've had to I would sub other artists to do work for me for certain things, and I would be like, okay, X amount, whatever, to pay them and whatever. I would never ever go to somebody and be like, can you just do something? And not
Dope
even
Hope has
offer the
been
fact of
paid
paying
for
them.
the variant covers as
Yeah,
well. Like,
yeah.
Right.
Pay for
But
those covers, yeah.
but yeah, going back to the conversation, the book has been done, and the way I approach it when I'm running the Kickstarter is that when I'm like deciding on the rewards, it's like, how much should we charge where like we can cover the costs and maybe make like a little bit of money. Like, we're not like, running a charity here. Like we are making a profit on this. Like
Right.
the physical reward, the $10 one where you get the single floppy. Like if you crunch the numbers, it's like $5 to print the book and to get like the mailer and the bag and the board. It's another $5 for shipping. It's a little under, but like, it's $5 for shipping, and it's $5 extra for me to advertise the book and to pay Frankie for the next one. So to answer your question, like making like how we're able to do a comic book for $3,000. We kind of really don't. Like, we make the comic.
Yeah.
And the $3,000 in the Kickstarter is for fulfillment, for getting the book into readers' hands, and for like, making sure that there's something that, we have where we don't have to spend like, go completely bankrupt, but like, we'll start for the next one.
Yeah.
I will say this, like, you'll never normally catch me say this, but thank God that our tax code allows us to deduct expenses from our taxes. That has been a huge help.
Hey guys, I just want to let everybody know I'm gonna have to cut out. I just want to let just for the people out there in the audience and stuff. I just had a hip replacement in February, still recovering from it. And it's getting better, but it just hurts a little bit just sitting for long periods and stuff like that. So I'm not just cutting out on all you guys.
No.
But anyway, I had a great, fantastic time just chatting up with you guys, and I hope we could do this again.
Yeah, because I want to talk to you about your art style, Frankie.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, we're gonna have you back on probably in a couple of weeks, Frankie.
All right, definitely before. I got another, I will tell you this, I do have another surgery planned in June. So early June, actually. So if we can get me like next month, that'd be great.
Okay, no problem. We'll figure out.
All right,
also,
fantastic.
Take care, man.
All right, guys, take care. Have a good night.
Bye, Frankie.
All right.
Okay, man.
Yeah, so definitely... well, we're gonna have to talk on Facebook as well, because I've got another Kickstarter coming up in June for the Roman comic. We're wrapping that up as well.
Don't worry.
That'd be fantastic. I'll see what I can do about bringing Paul on, because Paul is based in Australia. So, but we have had face-to-face conversations, so I can see what I can do about getting him on. He's a lot more camera shy than Frankie is, but
that's fine. Okay, let's go ahead and go back on this one real quick here.
Yes.
We got you up to 955 out of a 1,500 goal. Again, that's a goal. We actually want to see you guys get a lot more than just the 1,500.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely two schools of thought when it comes to Kickstarters. You either want you either raise as much as you think you need to get the book done, and pray you get there, or you raise what you think you can raise and hope that you go over the amount to the point where you actually get to that point.
Right. I'm gonna go here again real quick here. My computer's playing silly games.
Normally it's my computer that does this. Also, rather interestingly enough, now that Frankie's gone, the echo's gone. Have you noticed that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Lewis, you gotta give those gerbils running your computer a drink now and then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, be nice to the gerbils, man. There we go.
It isn't the gerbils. It's that there was too many windows open. They didn't shut the windows down. But anyway, so you got 28 days to go. We'll revisit this in the future when we do our regular crowdfunding. We always keep up stuff that we've been reviewing or stuff that we've been promoting to let people know where it stands. I backed it myself, and I think you got another backer besides me. So you had two backers for the show.
Thank you.
And you know, there are people watching, but they're being quiet.
Hey, everyone.
So hopefully more people will watch this on the replay and check it out. Again, the Kickstarter link here is Kickstarter ST/44GV6U capital V. And that link is also in the description of this video.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, also, we do ship international as well. It costs a little bit more, but you know, we get the books into people's hands. So, like, you know, if you're in Europe or if you're in Australia or if you're in, you know, I think we actually had a backer from the Philippines for a couple of the campaigns. We will send it. We will send it.
How do you think the whole situation with the tariffs is affecting?
I was just going to ask that.
How polite? How much swearing do you guys allow?
We allow open-mindedness.
Yes.
Son of a bitch. Like, this sucks because it's like, this is the best start we've had to a campaign ever. And it's like, you know, if this was any other week or any other day, we would be like absolutely over the moon. And because, like, when you run a Kickstarter, there is a constant gnawing in your guts that, you know, will I make it? You know, will this be a success? And it's always there and it will never go away. But you learn to live with it. And when you when you hit the campaign goal, it's like this psychological thing where it's just this overwhelming sense of relief on my end. But at the same time, it's rather interesting because whenever we hit our campaign goal, there's always a boost as well. I think it's like a psychological thing where it's like, you know, people are like, oh, this is a guaranteed success. I'm going to back it now. All of this to say, this would normally be a really good time for us if it wasn't for the fact that we literally started this on the day of economic fucking Armageddon.
Do you watch The Daily Show, Matt?
I not as much as I used to, but yeah.
Jon Stewart had a guy out there yesterday, and he was talking. He's just like, son of a bitch, mother.
Was it Lewis Black?
No, it wasn't. It was I can't think of his name now, but yeah. He was just like, how stupid do you have to be? And just it was quite funny.
Yeah, the reason we asked you about your breakdown for your monies and stuff is because we have many friends who are in the business, and we're talking about people with 30 to 40 to 50 years in the industry that are doing Kickstarters, and this whole tariff situation has completely wiped out their profits.
Yep.
Well, I mean, if there's any silver lining, it seems that books are going to be exempt.
Yeah, I saw a little thing recently on Facebook. It's now rebooted, so I can't. Here we go. According to reports, this is from Comics Experience Community Gamal Hennessy, and it's reported on ICV2. Tariffs will not apply to books and comics that are printed in Asia, which will help.
Oh, thank God!
Right,
and that's gonna help our friend David Campiti some for certainly.
Yeah.
But never discount Trump waking up one day and going, "Fuck people who read."
Yeah. People. Well, I don't think he thinks they exist. But like, I think because like this whole thing, like he says it's going to be an effort to get like manufacturing back, and like I work in manufacturing, like, you know, let it not be said that, you know, we don't make things in this country anymore. Like that's what I do. But like, you know, when it comes to things like book printing, because book printing or like, you know, the low end stuff or like t-shirt printing or whatever, it's like we don't want that. We want like the cars, and we want the pharmaceutical drugs, and we want the microchips. Like that's what we want. So, and like also like I've also said, like I was at a convention in January, and we were talking about this, and the subject of tariffs came out. And the guy I was talking to said, because the tariffs are like, I mean, they're like in the 50. They're like 50% now, but like
Right. Some of them over 100%.
Yeah. Well, like China is the one that's getting the worst of it, but like a 50% tariff, because like I crunched some numbers, like printing from Asia, it's like a little over $1 per unit these days. So like a 50% tariff on $1 comic book is not as bad as a 50% tariff on a $30,000 car.
Right.
So there's that at the very least, like, and you know, so
but because of the way our excuse for a distribution system in our market is the percentage of profit margin from distributor to retailer is so razor thin that
I mean, there's I mean, like, you know, there's
what we do is fix it so that we don't have this nonsense where, like, let's say you guys were marketing through a diamond in the back of the catalog. You guys would only probably get like a 40% discount to the distributor, even though you're paying 62% to have diamond carry the thing. And so the retailers go, well, I'm only going to get 40%. Well, Marvel gives me 58. I don't care how good your book is. I'm not making as much profit per unit. I'm not going to order it.
Well, pour one out for Diamond and may it forever burn in hell.
Well, let's hope Alliance wins the lawsuit. People don't think I understand this stuff. They go mad and they're like, guys, I was a co-op distributor for 10 years.
Lewis has an exhaustive amount of knowledge as to the inner workings of distribution and the comic book industry.
Well, you know, as someone who's been trying to break in, it is like a monolith that is a little insurmountable from my end. But with that being said, you know, thanks to the wonders.
I would just love to see if Alliance doesn't do it. What we need to do is have a co-op rebuilt, like what I had. But I'm 52. And I've got a disabled parent that I'm full-time caregiver of. I cannot be the head guy. Someone else is going to take over.
Well, I mean, like, there is that too. Like, I do have an advantage with, you know, being single, and you know, I have roommates, but they are very understanding. Like, I'm doing this interview from my kitchen, and but yeah, it's, you know. I mean, thanks to the wonders of modern technology and the internet, like, you know, we have a web store where we can control our price, and, you know, we're on the hook for distribution as well, but we get to keep all the money.
Right.
And also, like, you know, thanks to platforms like Kickstarter, it's like, you know, a $10 for a 22 page floppy is a bargain on Kickstarter, which really shouldn't be the case. But at the same time, it, like, you know, it lets, you know, it lets us keep more of it.
Right. And people need to realize that you're only selling a fraction.
Well,
of the copies that these mass markets that are $3.99, $4.99, and through the mainstream are selling. If you're only selling 500, 600 copies of your book, you're already a collectible compared to these 50, 60, 70, 80,000. And so if you're $10 for that, you're actually buying something that's a rarity to begin with. So that's part of what justifies the cost. And people don't always understand that. They think that, well, why don't you do a Kickstarter and make it cheap, man? You know, because if we're going to make it cheap, you're going to have 75, 80,000 backers to order it at that price and make it affordable for us to do it.
Yeah, and I'm not Skybound or like Boom. I mean, Boom's been doing some interesting stuff with Kickstarter in terms of like how they market it and how they like what they offer. Because like I remember when the Berserker Kickstarter started, like, you know, they were like, you know, we're, you know, the books are done, but like, you know, here's how this is going to be laid out and organized, and here's a schedule of how you're going to get it. And I think, you know, stepping out of comics, the most successful Kickstarter of all time, I think, was Brandon Sanderson.
Brandon Sanderson.
yeah, like, here's, 4 books. I haven't written them yet, but you know me, because he's like a psychopath when it comes to
Right. Yeah.
to his work ethic. Like, I think, I consider myself, a wizard when I do like, 3 or 4 books a year. And here's this guy typing out entire novels. It's like, wow, Stephen King, eat your heart out. But like,
Right. And then you have like Brian Polito, who is buying second houses with his Kickstarter funds.
well, I mean, those guys have audiences already.
Right.
Like, they're leveraging like their existing fan base to do that. Like, I'd like to joke that like my personal journey is kind of like Orson Welles. I haven't made the Citizen Kane of comic books yet, but like, Orson Welles started from the very top, and like by the end he was like doing like small like indie films, whatever. So like, he like, started and slowly worked his way down. Like we're kind of doing that as well, because like we're playing the average comic book creator's career in reverse, starting with Kickstarter, maybe getting into a smaller publisher, working for something bigger, and then like, going back to, the indie stuff. But
Right.
that's what it feels like to me. But yeah, no, like Kickstarter is a tool. There's an audience in Kickstarter that wants. And so, like, we have the Kickstarters going, we have the conventions going, we have the stores going.
Sorry, I'm laughing at this cat.
It's all good. It's all good. When you're in heat, you're in heat. Not that I would know. I'm not. I don't want to say anything. Say anything yet, but. I can strongly hint that stuff is happening behind the scenes where, we will be reaching a bigger audience with some of our books in the not too distant future. So
very, very cool.
So yeah,
Awesome.
we'll find out all about that later in like June or July. So
Okay.
Well, hopefully that'll all pan out perfectly, and you'll be able to announce it.
Yeah. So. Exciting stuff is happening, and it's something that, I mean, talking about my own personal creator journey, like I am not nowhere near as formal as everyone else, or I'm not as formal as Frankie. Like when I realized I wanted to do comics, I was this was about 2012, 2013. And I was living with my parents. I was working my 5 jobs. I was depressed. I wasn't doing very well mentally or physically. And I was like, screw it. Let's make a comic book. It can't be that hard. Spoiler alert, it is amazingly difficult. I wouldn't wish this on anyone. You have to be like psychotically focused on like doing this in order to get anywhere.
Yeah. I mean, when I was doing comics in the 90s, I don't know what it was, whether I was just, mentally obsessed with doing it or what.
Yeah.
Well, it's something that you just have to get out of you,
Yeah. There's a need. There's this gnawing, like, there's this gnawing creature sitting in your brain, and it's like, if you don't do this, like, what are you? And it's like, yeah, it's there's the drive to create, and it's like, comic, like, it sounds like psychopathic almost, but at the same time, like,
it's not
doing
psychopathic.
this.
It's just obsessive compulsiveness.
Well, yeah, it's obsessive, sure, and like, it can veer into being unhealthy, but like that, like, not to sound like cheesy, it saved me.
No. When I was in my 20s, I would work 80 to 120 hours a week on just producing the books, and I didn't think about it. It was just do it. I'm having fun. I'm helping other people do their thing. everything was fine. And then both my parents suffered heart attacks and strokes, and I had to step away from this
Yeah.
and take care of them. And the burden of that just weighed on me for so long that when I tried to come back to it, it's like, do I have time to dedicate this the way I did? And the answer is no, I've never had that. So I became more of a consultant and an editor and other things for other people. And I haven't put a book out in a long time for that reason. But it's like you were talking about all the different things that you give in addition to your $10 book, right? I look at it as you're joining a fan club. Yeah. You can have the book, but for X amount more, you get all these other goodies for the fan club.
Yeah. It's a nice bonus. It's a nice thing to have. It's not necessary. We're not going to be mad at you if you don't, buy all the stickers and buy the patches and all that. But here's the book. Here's some extra stuff if you like it. Enjoy.
Yeah. But a lot of people are like, no, man, you gotta put out that poster. You gotta put out that T-shirt. By the way, do you have T-shirts available? I saw both of you have T-shirts.
T-shirts. Well, we've talked about it. We've thought about it, and kind of wearing one right now. We made a couple. Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet. But it's definitely something we're thinking about it. But like right now we're just focused getting the book out, Kickstarters, conventions, web store. Stuff like that. And
it's fine.
I mean, we have the wonders of modern logistics. There are T-shirt print on demand stuff, but I'm like I said, I'm operating out of my living room right now. It's I have to share the space with 3 other people. It's I don't want to bring giant boxes of T-shirts of various sizes and organize that. At least not yet.
Right. And for the companies that drop ship, you're making $2 profit off of a $24 T-shirt. It's not.
Well, also, with the way things are, maybe asking someone to spend $25 on a T-shirt, maybe not the best time to start doing that right now. But there never is.
News. On a positive note, I'm 99% sure that the whole tariff thing is going to end soon.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, yes.
Well, it's not just that. It's more than that, though, because yes, there is the tariffs, but we are in the middle of changing things. Because in the 90s, I think in the 90s, when all the stuff really started moving to China. But the cost, the reason why made in China was so good is because labor was so cheap. But the Chinese labor is getting more expensive now. The one child policy really screwed them over, and now they don't have as many people who can work. And now the people that worked in the factories in the 90s, they're entering retirement age.
Right.
And so they've got their own stuff. So I think made in China is starting to be replaced by made in Mexico. And the really cheap stuff. There's always Bangladesh, which is the clothing capital of the world. But things are, changing, things are moving around, things are shifting. And the tariffs should not have happened the way they did. I'm going to get political here. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
It shouldn't happen the way it did, but it was going to happen eventually. And then the only question was, is it going to happen slowly or is it going to happen quickly? And we seem to have chosen quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's tens of millions of people who are of a like mind, who believe that this was simply a ploy to bottom out the market, so his rich friends and him can buy everything up at pennies on the dollar.
That's pushing.
And then He gets rid of the tariffs, everything jumps back up, and they make trillions.
I mean, I love like I mean, like, you know, working in comics, you deal with, like, you know, the supervillains and like the outlandish plots. Like, you know, that's a hallmark of what we do. But I find conspiracy theorists kind of funny, because, like, if you are like, you know, if you do something like, you know, you believe in, like, you know, these, you know, fiendish plots to undermine the American economy, like, what you are doing is you believe that there is a system that is so well organized and so capable and run by people who know how to keep their mouths shut that it can happen under your nose and you'll never even see it. It's like, you know,
and yet who's running this? Donald Trump? Huh?
Well,
Exactly.
Donald Trump is an idiot. The people behind him pulling the strings?
Well, yeah, they're slightly less so, but it's like, I mean, like, you know, you look at something like, you know, the conspiracy about, you know, faking the moon landing. It's like, you honestly believe that they, you know, were able to put this together, film it, distribute it, you know, sublimate it, and no one said anything. Like, you know, anyone who's done any sort of project management knows just how impossible that is.
Right.
So it's like, you know, yes, you know, be attentive, be aware, and, you know, don't be, you know, completely blind and ignorant to it. But at the same time, it's like, you know, the people in power and the powers that be, they're still people. They're still, you know, they still have their foibles, and, like, you know, they may have more resources and time than you, but there's, they're also idiots as well. So it's like,
Well, so there's a meme going around about Lex Luthor and how when Lex Luthor was elected president, he sold LexCorp. So Lex Luthor is literally has more morality than Donald Trump.
well, I mean, yeah, no, the rules surrounding, like, presidents and property, like, you know, they're there for a reason. Like he hasn't sold anything, but his sons and his, like, family do that, and, like, you know, he's not the only one that does this. Like, you know, all those senators.
It's not like George Bush family didn't have their hands in the oil industry, because they did.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to be, you know, like, you know, the running for office is a nightmare. You know, being involved in politics is, you know, it's not it's not a business that makes a lot of money, like, but at the same time,
the business of being a governing individual does not make money. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Which is why you can buy a senator for a surprisingly low amount of money. It's terrifying. But at the same time, it's like, you know, you can't technically own a stock portfolio, but, you know, you can have, you know, a person hold it for you, and you can, you know, do things to it that'll tweak things. But, like, it's a conversation.
Insider trading, no.
Never.
So,
but yeah, I mean, like, when it comes to comics, like, you know, yeah, it's probably, you know, it's bad, and it's probably going to get
our regular Joey Joe.
Hey,
Joey Joe.
Yeah, it's not fun at all.
You're right.
But
having been just an electoral worker, I don't want to get into it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, when it relates to comics, it's like, you know, it's bad. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's bad now. It's probably gonna get worse. With that being said, this is not the first time that comic books have been in a situation like this, and this is not even the worst it's been. Like,
Oh,
I can only imagine how bad it was for, all those guys in the late 40s, early 50s. Like that must have been just terrible. And I can't imagine how it must have been in the late 90s as well, when the
bubble
bottom
burst.
And it's like, so it got better, and this will get better. And we'll be here. We'll still be here. We'll still be making our stories. Whether you can buy them on our website, or you can trade them for 2 bottle caps and a half a pound of rat meat. Sure. We'll still be here. We'll still be making stuff.
Rat meat. Okay, now we gotta go with Rat Fink comics. Oh man.
Yeah.
Charred boiled.
Well, it was a pleasure talking to you, Matt. It really was.
Likewise. This was fantastic, and like Frankie said, we need to do this again sometimes.
We will. We'll just talk about topic in general, about the business, but still in topics in general. Or I don't know what you guys like to watch for movies. We do our Friday night movie reviews, TV show reviews as well.
That'll be nice. I mean, I work on Fridays. I work on Friday evenings, so I probably won't be able to. I can probably make a couple of those. So
yeah, well, we'll see. There's always a possibility.
Yeah, we're always around.
Yeah. So, but
awesome.
Once again, this is Matthew Blair of Kaijus and Cowboys. Let's take a quick look at the crowdfunding campaign. Again, this is for issue number 6. You can still get all 5 issues. You can also get the trade collection.
Yes. Yeah. If you want to get the first 5 issues as floppies, they're on as add-ons.
Right.
For $5. So we're selling them at Marvel and DC prices.
Awesome.
Which should not be the case, but here we are.
Yeah. Again, here's some of the artwork by Frankie. Frankie had to step away. He recently had hip surgery, and he had to tap out for the evening, but we thank him for being on the show.
Yeah, the guy's a machine. I love him to death. I've been working with him for the better part of a decade, and I still I've been looking at this for the better part of 2 years now, and I still get excited whenever I see this. This is me being the kid that I never thought I could be, looking at this stuff.
Yeah.
So, and he does the colors too. This is
this is all of it is him, except for, does he do the lettering too?
So the lettering's done by a guy named Mike Stock, who's based in Great Britain.
Okay.
But it's when he says when you say the lettering, it's only the dialogue.
That's what I meant was the dialogue lettering.
Yeah. The sound effects are all Frankie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could tell that. But good for you for clarifying that. Nevertheless, as you can see, I backed it myself. I got the Yeehaw bundle.
Yes,
and I also got some add-ons as well. So I actually got the other books that are being promoted in this.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and I'm gonna bring Zach is local. He's a friend of mine, and he's local as well. So I'll talk to him about coming on.
Yeah. So I also got the Guardians of the Last Dragon. Ordered that from you guys, and I ordered the other one, the
Romanus.
Yes, Romanus Magicae or Magicae.
Yes, Magicae. I mean, I took Latin all through middle school and high school, so it's all natural to me. And then we put it out there, and I'm like, oh, people are gonna have problems with the title. Crap.
Yeah. So I mean, there's you can get a whole bunch of cool stuff there.
Yeah.
There's of course the Cambium bundle as well, which is a little bit more. Those are
Yeah, we have
digital.
digital and we have physical rewards, and that's everything. That's all of the books, all of this stuff.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah. So anyway, I got all those, and I know somebody else ordered something else while we were watching as well. So I don't know what they ordered, obviously.
And whoever that, like, I'm gonna go onto the campaign page because like I see the names and the amounts for whoever does that on the back end stuff. So whoever did that, thank you so much. You are an absolute godsend. Like, you know, being able to make something and like putting it out there and having people give you money for it, it's a privilege. And it's something that Frankie and I and Paul and Zach and everyone are just so grateful for. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for backing, and thank you so much for coming in to listen and hearing us talk. It's also a wonderful thing as well. Like this would not be possible without fans and without fan support. And you know, the goal is to get out of the factory life and to be able to do this full time. But like, you know, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly.
So
I see kids all the time come onto Facebook pages, the comic book Facebook pages, and they're like, "How do I get into writing comics?" And like the overwhelming answer is, write a comic.
Make one. Yeah.
You got to do it. Just get out there and do it.
Yeah, and like it's, you know, if you do make one, like I go to conventions and I have people asking me for career advice. Like that is the most terrifying thing ever. It's like, you should not be asking me for anything. But it's like, you know, people do that, and it's like, you know, you just gotta sit and make it, and like, you know, your first piece of work will probably be crap. It was the same for me. Like, you know, when I started out, I had no idea what I was doing. And like, you know, I figured it out as we went along. And like the first book I made, like I have the artwork buried in a Dropbox folder that will never see the light of day. Like I'll go back to it and look at it. And it's like, oh God, the writing on this is terrible. Oh, who wrote this? Oh wait, it was me.
We're all our own worst critics.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it happened, and it's been, you know, getting a little bit better ever since.
Hold on a second. I'm trying to find something here before we close out for the night, and it's being fussy. Let's see.
Give us water, please.
No, it's not that. It's well, here we go. I'll just.
Well, he's got the gerbils. You've got the cat.
Yes. Well, my cat's already left the room. He fed up. But anyway, alrighty, we're gonna call it a night, I guess. But we want to thank Matthew for being here. We want to thank Frankie for stopping by and talking with us. He's got a lot more to share. I know he does.
Oh yeah, no, like I love going with him on podcasts because it's like I can just sit here and listen. It's amazing.
The man can talk.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's there we go. Okay, so next week on our podcast for our Tuesday night crowdfunding and independent comics, we're going to be talking about Antarctic Press, 40 years in the business. We're going to be a lot of content from them, from individual series to anthologies. We might even have some discussions about some crowdfunders by the company. So join Chris and I, and maybe some special guests as we discuss this venerable publisher. There we go. I'll spit it out.
Eventually, we'll get it eventually. This is why we write.
Yes. If you have questions, comments, you can reach me on Facebook at Lewis.BrightRaven. On the Muskrat channel, as I call it, at Lewis Brightrave 2. You can see my artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven. I've been watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven on YouTube. If you have other questions, you don't want to reach out to me on Facebook or other social media, you can email me at quoththeravenlbr72@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you there. Try Lewis Bright Raven at yahoo.com. And of course, if you want to get Chris, it's Christopher M. Hall 1973 at gmail.com. Okay? Mm-hmm. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Quoth the Raven. Nevermore.
Nevermore.
What do I know?